Welcome back to Casual Bias Rugby. Obviously, round one of the Six Nations done and dusted, and I thought it's a good idea. Let's just do a team of the weekend. We did a team of the Six Nations as a predicted team of the Six Nations. We're gonna do one after each and every round of the Six Nations, and we're gonna follow the same premise. We're gonna say, listen, we want to at least have one player of each team in it. So if we went off the performance, probably most of the team, as you know, would have been stacked with Irish players. So don't think because there's certain players in and not the Irish player in that spot that the Irish player wasn't better. We have to go with merit. Otherwise, we just pick all Irish players after this weekend because they had such a brilliant performance. So starting off in the number 1 jersey, I could have easily gone Andrew Porter. I think he had an outstanding game. But I did think the main thing about a prop is making tackles and being dominant in the scrum. And I don't think Ireland were too dominant in the scrum. Obviously, that's with the caveat. France usually is very dominant in the scrum, very powerful. But I thought this player had an absolute standout game against Wales. And I'm going with Pierre Schoeman. The guy was all over the place in a good way. Scored a try. Very good at scrum time, as he always is. As you know, he's got that South African blood in him, which means he's good at the scrum. So I'm going Pierre Schoeman in that 1 jersey. In the 2 jersey, this was very, very easy. I thought it's going to be a close battle between Muvaka and Dan Sheehan. And in the end, Dan Sheehan just blew Muvaka out of the water. Dan Sheehan proving that he's one of the best in the world. And not most, but a lot of people would say he is the best number 2 in the world. And he proved that this week. And I thought he had an absolutely scintillating game. Just showing his worth and his class. In the number 3 jersey, there's not a lot of French players, but I have to put in a French player on this one. I'm going with Antonio. As I just said, France just, I wouldn't say dominated at scrum time, but that was like their strongest point in the game, was at scrum time, getting that scrum advantages or the penalties at scrum time. So you have to put in at least one French player, and I'm going with Antonio into that number 3 jersey. The locks, clean sweep, just pure Irish. I'm going Joe McCarthy, who's probably been the player of the weekend. 22 years old, Big Joe, absolutely brilliant. I mean, if you think about the best debuts that there's ever been, this has to be up there. Now, everyone knows, because I'm South African, I'm not a huge fan of Ireland, just because of the banter that there's always been between the two countries when it comes to rugby. But you have to put respect on Joe McCarthy, especially after that performance. Absolutely brilliant. We talk about James Ryan being one of the best in the world. He's not getting into this team if Joe McCarthy keeps on playing like this. So scintillating from him. And then obviously the man who's had an absolutely brilliant past 24 months of rugby, Tide Byrne, scored a try as well. Absolutely brilliant. The lines that this guy runs, especially like from the World Cup until now, is brilliant. And he was an absolute menace at line-out time. We spoke about it in the other day's video when we did a breakdown about the games. France just couldn't win their own line-out. And that is all due to Joe McCarthy, Peter Romani, and Tide Byrne. Tide Byrne, absolutely brilliant. Compare the 2 5s performances between Tide Byrne and Paul Willemse. Ridiculous. Moving on to the number 6 role, we got our English player in. I'm going Ethan Roots, also man of the match. I heard the commentators saying something about him not even being a rugby player a few years ago, and now he's in the starting lineup for England. What a great turnaround when it comes to his professional career. I think it was a scaffolder. Was he a scaffolder? I'm not too sure, but brilliant performance from him. So Ethan Roots, that's our England player going into the team, into that 6 jersey. In the number 7 jersey, I'm actually switching something around because I think there was 2 brilliant number 8s, and I'm putting one of the 8th men into that number 7 jersey, and it's once again a Frenchman. It's the guy that was the standout performer for me from France. He was ridiculous. He was all over the pitch, an absolute workhorse. So I'm going with Gregory Aldry. It's the one guy that every time he touched the ball, I felt it was dangerous. Every time he was there at the right time, disrupting quick ruck ball. The guy was immense, made about 1 billion tackles. Gregory Aldry has to be in there. Shout out to Tommy Raffel from Wales. But I had to put in Gregory Aldry into this team. And for the exact same reason, I'm putting in Aaron Wainwright. I spoke about it on yesterday's podcast on Safas Unscripted. I actually had the face of rugby pass on it, John Okafor, and he couldn't say enough good words about Aaron Wainwright's performance, the experience coming through. Absolutely brilliant. A massive key to Wales' comeback in that second half against Scotland. So that is the full forwards pack. I don't think there can be too many debates. Maybe the likes of Andrew Porter slotting into that 1 jersey, or Tommy Rafell into that 7. But I think that's a pretty solid forwards pack that we picked after this weekend. All of them absolutely deserving to be there. Moving on to the back line. Bit tougher. I struggled to pick a 9. I thought it was pretty easy just going with Jamison Gibson Park. I think just the way that Ireland played and unleashed their backline, especially at the start, I had to put in Jamison Gibson Park. Of course, scored a brilliant try as well. And then in the 10 jersey, I could have easily gone Finn Russell. But the thing is, I think Finn Russell had a brilliant first half, and he was ghosting in the second half. Now, of course, he got 2 try assists. But all the hype this weekend has been about Jack Crowley replacing Johnny Sexton, having a brilliant performance. Of course, some errors, but I think a very, very solid performance from him, getting his first start in the Irish jersey in the Six Nations. Very, very impressed with him. So I had to put in Jack Crowley into that number 10 jersey. Moving on to the centres. And it was a shocking weekend for the outside centres, in my opinion. So I've got in 2 inside centres. I went with Bundiaki, who I think had an absolutely outstanding game. Set up to try for Jamison Gibson Park as well. It was just all over Dante. We spoke about that being the battle of the weekend, Dante versus Bundiaki, 2 massive 12s going against each other. And the one just blasted the other one out of the water. So Bundiaki straight into that 12 jersey. And then into that 13 jersey, we've got our Italian player, Tommaso, how do I even pronounce it? Tommaso Manoncello. Outstanding. I don't know if you've seen that photo on Twitter going around with his stats. I'm not a big stats guy. I don't really care about stats. But if you watch that game, he was absolutely brilliant. Tackles, run meters, carries with the ball, everything. He was scintillating. So I'm throwing him on the outside centre. I don't care. I saw someone else putting in Henry Slade on the outside centre, and I think I didn't even hear Henry Slade's name said once. And I've previously said that I think Henry Slade could be the best outside centre in the world if he takes his Exeter form to England. But that was not the case this weekend. So there's no way Henry Slade gets into this team. So Tommaso Manoncello, he goes into that 13 jersey for me. And then my 11, my 14, I've got a South African, Duan van der Merwe, 2 tries as well. I mean, how long are we going to have the conversation of the best wings in the world without mentioning Duan van der Merwe? I'm not saying he is the best wing in the world, but I mean, we talk about the likes of Mark Talia, Will Jordan, Cheslin Colby, Damien Penno, the likes of those guys who are absolutely brilliant and deserve to be in the conversation. But we can't go too much longer without mentioning Duan van der Merwe. The guy is a workhorse. He's absolutely everywhere. And he's not a finisher. He doesn't just finish tries. He creates. And that's exactly like, Finn Russell created the try for him, but he still ran 50 meters through everyone, beating the last defenders. He's such a strong runner, absolutely scintillating. And then, I mean, we always talked about James Lowe and Mac Hansen being some of the best wing pairings. But James Lowe has got a new partner, and that is Nash, that I'm putting on my other wing. What a performance! Before the Six Nations started, and I saw the teams announced, I didn't even know who Nash is. A couple of people in my comment section on TikTok or YouTube, I can't remember exactly, told me, how can he not know Nash? He plays for Munster. He actually scored in the URC final against your team. People, I don't know every single guy in the world. But he's definitely on my radar now. After that performance against France, wow, absolutely brilliant from Nash. And then at fullback, I struggled a bit. I'm not going to lie. And then I realized probably just put in another Irishman, because I think Hugo Keenan had an absolutely scintillating game. I think it was a big debate who's the best 15 currently between Tomo Ramos and Hugo Keenan. In my opinion, it's still Tomo Ramos. but that game, Hugo Keenan schooled him. I think Tomo Ramos ghosted, and this is not I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I think Hugo Keenan really showed up for that game. He was up for the fight. Obviously, I think he got bumped one or twice, but creating tries, always part of the game. I know I've said it a couple of times, but just a pure workhorse. He's one of those guys that does the basics so well. He doesn't even need to have anything special. He doesn't need to have a crazy step, because his lines that he runs is there. He's a good defensive player, even though he got bumped once or twice. Just Hugo Keenan, one of those guys that I feel does the basics so well, and he's a crucial and vital part of the Irish team and all the success that they have. So that is the official team of the weekend, in my opinion. Let me know what you guys think about it. What changes would you made? Have I missed someone? Of course, take this all with a grain of salt. I'm literally talking strictly this weekend. Of course, I don't know all the players as well as you guys do. I am a Southern Hemisphere guy, so I try my best. Let me know what you think about it. Thank you very much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. See you next time. Thank you.